Hey, CEOs.
Hey, ladies.
All right, today we're going to have a great, juicy topic.
Oof.
Let's talk about in-laws.
Mm-hmm. How many of you have them?
So, I'm going to start off this video saying that I'm actually pretty blessed. I have some really good in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not everybody's experience.
Oh,
some
yeah.
people may not be as blessed.
That is true.
But what we wanted to do is at least talk about just a couple of just tips and tricks to really help you enjoy your in-laws and have a good time.
Yeah, and to Tamara's point, I actually don't have in-law parents. So my mother-in-law and father-in-law have passed away, but I do have family from my husband's side of the family. So it's really cool because we get to interact well too. So I'm really blessed to have their great aunts, they're wonderful, cousins, family, things like that. But as it relates to parents, I don't have those, but I do have parents that my husband has to honor and deal with as well. So I can relate to this through his experiences.
Yes, shout out to Kristen's daddy.
Yes.
So here's a couple of things. One, I think just in any circumstance, I think you should just handle your people.
Yeah.
And your spouse should handle theirs.
That's
Because
big.
at the end of the day, you know your parents. They're your parents.
Oh yeah.
And you know how to probably best approach a situation if you need to.
Yep.
It certainly doesn't set the right tone if your spouse is the one having to intervene and address your parents
They
on
don't
something
know
they're
their
not
trigger
doing.
points, and they don't know how much they can handle at one time.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. They don't know their trigger
They don't know the
points.
trigger points. You know.
So tip number one is you handle your people and your spouse can handle theirs when you need to intervene. Hopefully you don't.
Now, Tamara, what about this? So, okay, so you handle your people, I handle my people, but is it ever important for your spouse and you to bring them together and you guys talk together? So handle it,
I agree.
and then maybe come back and sit with your spouse and
That's a
the
great
parent
point.
and say, okay, like, just wanted to talk this through, make sure everybody's good.
So I actually like that. I like closure and closing the loop and
That's
just
important.
kind of making sure everybody's on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe after you've had your conversation,
Afterwards. Yes, please afterwards.
after,
Yes.
it might be a good idea to bring everybody together and just say, listen, let's clear the air. Here's kind of how we should all behave going forward.
That's right, because I can imagine if, let's just use you for example, if Tamara has went to speak to her parents about something that maybe Steve had a grievance with, and then we just come back at the next function or event, we're all around each other, that might feel awkward.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with kind of coming back, and like Tamara said, closure is so important in
It is.
relationships, because when you leave those things open, I just imagine like a live wire that's been cut and there's sparks going everywhere, versus kind of closing those things off where it can be healthy. So,
And a lot of times I think it's not even intentional. I don't think in-laws realize that, hey, we really kind of didn't want your parenting advice.
exactly.
That one time when you told us we had to do 1, 2, and 3 with our kids.
We got
Totally innocent, I'm sure. But it certainly can rub you the wrong way.
Absolutely.
So kind of tip number 2 is I would just say kind of keep what's in your marriage between you and your spouse, like those really sacred decisions and discussions. Keep it in within your little circle.
That's
You don't need
important.
to include mama.
Yeah.
You
And
don't need to
Mama's
talk
gonna
about
be
that.
concerned. She's gonna want to know.
Mama gonna want to know.
And Daddy too.
Daddy probably absolutely would want to know.
Daddy want to know what's going on with his baby girls. Okay?
Right. However, there are some things that you need to learn how to work through between the two of you. At the end of the day, the more opinions you get into your marriage, the worse that can really turn out.
It can start off as something very small, but once you include people, especially your parents or family members, it can become so big. You start looking at it in a way that you haven't, because no one knows your spouse like you do. Okay, so once you start adding in opinions, they're coming from a different perspective, because they don't know the heart of your spouse. So that's
and their
important.
interest is really aligned with yours.
That's right. They're always going to be on your side. Now, I always say about my family, sometimes I think they're harder on me than they are.
I'm not to say that.
on my
Actually,
significant
yeah,
other.
my there's times where
Yeah.
it might be a little bit hard on me. I'm like, okay.
If I even mention anything, my dad's like, "What'd you do wrong?" I'm like, "Okay, well there you go."
Wow. Alrighty.
Right.
Yeah. But just to kind of keep the peace in the house, I think these are just kind of quick, easy tips that you can kind of live with to help out, you know, when you have in-laws coming in town. In-laws can be really great, you know. It's all about communication and really just kind of keeping the right boundaries. And if you are an in-law, just a couple pieces of advice for you. Let your kids figure it out.
And pray for them. Because it's okay. Your prayers for your kids will go way further than your advice.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. Now, not to say you can't give it if it's asked.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes, you know, it's tempting. You know, as a mom, I'm like, I tell you what you need to do.
And you can't tell me right now that when Chandler gets older that I'm not going to be the only one in his ear, okay?
Matter of fact, pray for us.
Pray for us, okay? That's why we're not in-laws yet. That's why God didn't allow us to be in-laws yet.
I ain't ready.
But here's the thing, too. So Tamara's mentioned some really good nuggets. So the first one was really like when there's a grievance, you handle your side of the family, let your spouse handle the other side. And the other one is, you know, keep your issues, keep your marriage to yourselves and don't include family members or your parents. But I think the biggest thing to remember right now, too, is this thing can get really heated sometimes as well.
Yes.
So be really careful the things that you say and do when you're frustrated. I have heard a lot of stories and conversations about in-laws and how frustrating that relationship can be. I mean, we're not necessarily talking about anything that's frustrating from our side because we don't necessarily have those experiences, but we've heard some of our CEOs even talk about some of their experiences. One of the reasons we're doing this topic tonight, but it's not always easy. So remember just to keep your temper cool, because at the end of the day, they love you and they're here to support you. And know that it can be difficult. We got to pray about those relationships too. So.
Absolutely. But until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Love to hear your comments about this topic. Like, share, subscribe, and shout out to my mother-in-law and father-in-law and all my siblings.
Exactly. And shout out to all the Riley sides of the family. Thank you guys for accepting me and loving me. Y'all are the
all right.
Take care. Bye.